Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. Tonight's broadcast was written lovingly by our friend Marisa, and it's titled Introspection. Introspection. So we'll get into that in just a few minutes, but first we'll introduce the panel. For those of you listening for the first time, and by the way, we are getting some new subscribers. They're kind of limping in, but over the past, I would say over the past year, I think at the beginning of the year we started out at like 322, I believe, and yeah, so in the past year, I think we've gotten like 30 new subscribers. So that's good. I mean, we're not trying to be a super big channel or anything like that, but whether they trickle in or not, we're just grateful there's more people listening. So anyone that has enjoyed the broadcast, enjoy what we do, and told anyone else about it or shared the link out, we sure appreciate it, because I am horrible at that. Social media and self-promotion and all of that. And I've learned a few things from Marisa when I was doing the Dr. Sleep channel, and when that was new. I did try a lot, and I kind of lost my momentum with it, and just wasn't happening for me. But I don't regret that I have that channel, and I have about 200 videos on there. But anyway, anytime you guys are willing to share us out, we appreciate that. As Marisa always says, we appreciate it so much. Okay, so I'm Jason. I'm the host of the broadcast, and as always, with me, I have a wonderful panel. That's a weird sentence. Without which, that's better. Without which, I wouldn't have the energy to continue. I wouldn't do this by myself. So I'm thankful for these guys. Starting out with my amazing wife, Jennifer. Jennifer, take a minute to say hello to the peoples.
Hey guys, good to be here. It is cold and rainy here in South Carolina, but
Yeah,
we like the rain. I mean, not like crazy amounts of it or anything, but it's relaxing. It's good to be here. Looking
There you
forward
go.
to Maurice's write-up for sure, and
Yep,
grateful Glenn and Sandra got home safe.
Yep, Glenn and Sandra are home safely, and we're glad that they made it. Gone for a couple of weeks, but we're glad they're here. And speaking of that, I'll introduce our buddy Glenn from Australia. Glenn, take a minute and say hello to everyone. And if you want to talk a little bit about your trip, highlights or whatever, you're more than welcome, or not.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, back. It's hot. New Zealand is way cooler than here, that's for sure. So you hit Sydney and it's like 98% humidity. Oh, Lord.
Oh,
Wow.
What a kicker.
Yeah.
So it's not so
Takes
bad
your breath
out
away.
here, but, pardon?
Takes your breath away, I'm sure, the humidity.
Oh, yeah, it hits you when you haven't been in it. So, yeah, things were good. Yeah, just the usual difficulties when you have a person with disabilities, as many
Sure.
people would be aware, but you work through it. So that's we'd been to New Zealand before. We'd driven it, so it was nothing new. It was more just somewhere to go, and didn't really matter where it was. It just happened to be
Yeah.
cheap.
Right.
All right.
Good
Beautiful.
value. So yeah. And
Beautiful.
no tips if you didn't want
No
it.
tips, yeah.
No tips, no tips. But we
No
did
tips.
give tips, but to people because they work like dogs.
Yeah. Well, I guess to some people, if you don't have to give tips, then it's a real treat if you decide to give tips.
It's only the ships that port out of Australia that you don't do. The tips are already in the price.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
but
good.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. So you not like adding it on or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, Glenn, we're
people
glad
free.
we're
Yeah.
glad to have you back. So.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Good for you.
Last but not least, certainly the writer of tonight's write-up, our friend Marisa of the Nez Lover channel. And as I always say, if you have not had a chance to go over and visit her channel, please do. The Nez Lover channel. She does art streams and has a beautiful singing voice, in my opinion, and also has some really loyal friends that come to the chat, just like you guys here. And everyone over there, in my opinion, is just absolutely wonderful. Go over there and
Welcoming.
welcoming and meet some new people and walk away with some friends. And they very much promote each other's channels over there. And I think that is wonderful. It's great to see a channel in the YouTubeverse where people are not just there for their own self-interest, but out there to help other people with small channels that are trying to beat the algorithm and get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark so that people know they're out there. And that is done. It's a hard slog. It's done one subscriber at a time, and helping other people is great. I have, and this isn't me bragging. This is just saying it works. I have met people over there, and I've gone and subscribed to their channel. And because of that, I've met a lot of people that have some really, really great material, great content, rather. And so do yourself a favor. Go over there and visit Nez Lover's channel. Marisa is a wonderful person. We're glad to have her with us on True Story Live. And Marisa, I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable with all that, but take a minute and say hello to everybody.
Thank you, Jason. And welcome back, Glenn. I'm glad you and Sandra made it back safely. And Jen, I'm glad you're with us tonight, too. I'm happy to be here. I'm not up to 100%. I'm still a little tired from going through a sinus thing, but we're getting better. We're getting better. And yes, I invite people to come when I do streams on my channel. I like to have fun with art. I like to sing. I like to promote other people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go live until I've hit my first 1,000 subscribers. I went where I just paid attention and learned how to live stream first before trying it myself. And, any effort you put towards, building your channel, it's going to pay off at some point. So it is work. There's no easy way to do it. But, and then I went live every night for 2 years in a row, having fun with my art. So that built up my watch hours.
Sure.
So you can't get around doing the work, but you can find different ways to approach, and helping support other people was a good way for me to build up my channel as well. So, and I know if people will come my way, hey, you're bound to meet somebody who has a channel that you're interested in. And if you're not, you might know somebody. Say, hey, it's not my thing, but I got a friend who would love that. Word of mouth is still a good way to show support. Mm-hmm. That being said, I had fun writing up our little topic for tonight. Nothing big and fancy. Just it's about that time of year for me to assess how fast this year's gone by and some changes I've made and still need to make. Sure. So looking forward to getting hip deep into it. If you want your link shared tonight, please let us know in the chat. If you do not want your link shared, let us know that. We will respect your wishes. I'll be sharing some links tonight. Mostly people that I already know are comfortable with that come from my channel. But you want included, please let us know. Hi, Bobby. I love you.
All right. Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that very much. All right. We'll take a minute to say hello to the people that are in the chat. And as they pop in, as always, we'll try to say hello to everyone. But we are so grateful for everyone that's here. And Jen, if you take a minute to say goodbye, say goodbye. All right. Good night, everyone.
Sure. Night, guys. Bye.
Take a minute.
It's a quick show.
Yeah. Quick show. Hi and bye.
All right. We got Debbie just rolling right over you.
That's right.
Like, you're not going to get it out. Let me just go.
Sometimes you
Debbie,
have to do that. I'll just keep going if you don't. So
stop laughing. Debbie asks, Maurice is in the chat, of course. John Dons is here, and Bobby Meyer. Great to see you guys. And I know more people will trickle in, but it's great to have you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Bobby says, I'm going to make a channel about channels.
I like that, Bobby.
Bobby, if you add, Marisa was talking about, you can't get past the work and it takes time. And I thought, well, if I did a makeup tutorial of any kind, I would probably get up there quicker because those seem to be popular. But if you're going to make a channel about channels, do it while putting your makeup on and telling people how to apply blush. I'm sure it will get up to that 1,000 subscriber right quick. I don't know why people are so interested in that, but I'm a guy. So I'm a guy. Oh, let me clarify. I'm a guy that doesn't wear women's makeup. So for me, just not interested, but a lot of people are.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? I thought, I wonder if anybody's got a channel where they bake you know how they have like the baking channels where they're putting together a recipe?
Oh
I
yeah.
have yet to see somebody that's putting together a recipe and also doing crime.
Oh,
I thought that would be interesting. Cooking and crime. Yeah, crime and cooking.
There you go. I think it's good. It's out there.
Let me look around. I might know somebody. I might.
I bet it exists. It's gotta.
I bet it's out there. All right,
maybe
guys.
do like a split screen.
Yeah. Bobby says, I can't do makeup. Maybe I could cook. I could spill the tea while I cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
She's a liar. She knows how to put on makeup. Liar in chat.
All right. So let's get into this introspection. This, again, written by our friend Marisa, and I'm excited to see what she has to say. All right. How this year put a comment there. How this year has flown by as 2023 ends and 2024 begins. I'm doing what might be seen as a self-assessment, an honest review of mistakes I've made this year and what I need to do to make those same mistakes over and over. What I need to do to not make those same mistakes over and over again. Unless one changes the variables in an equation, one will always get the same answer. Jesus tells us in Matthew 7:3-5 KJV, quote, and why beholdest thou the mote in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then thou shalt see clearly to cast out the mote of thy brother's eye, end quote. Just some questions I'll be asking myself, and hopefully my co-panelists and the listeners can honestly ask and answer themselves. If any one of these bring on other questions or answers you wish to share, please do. All right. First question. What are the biggest changes you have made this year? What kind of changes were they? And were they for the better or the worse or little of each? Next question. What did you learn this year that you really didn't know before? A skill set, an exercise, a new way to eat? How has it helped you? What part of you do you seek to improve next? Something physical, something emotional, something spiritual? If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why? If you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something and never to have to do it again, what would that be? Oh, I can't wait till I answer that question. What keeps you from doing more of the things you know you should do? Is that really true or just an excuse? What can you do to change that? And last question, what fault do you see in yourself that you point out in others often? Whoa. How can you work on that in yourself? No one is perfect, but I am trying to do a little better each day. With God's help, I will make it through the classroom earth. And then a quote from our friend Paulo Coelho.
Oh.
Blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do, something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. All right.
That's a good one.
Stuff. All right. Our buddy Christ is the Truth just popped in the chat. Hi, guys. Hi, Truth. How you doing, buddy? And also our buddy Bubba News is in the chat as well. Thank you guys for coming. We're glad that you're here. Hope you're doing all right. All right. Let's roll with it. We're going down to the first question. First question asked by Marisa is, what are the biggest changes you have made this year? What kind of changes were they? And were they for the better or worse or little of each? Anyone want to go first on this one? What kind of changes this year?
I'll go first.
All right.
And I'm scrambling my brain. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Growth. Oh my gosh, so much growth. And not in a pat on the back kind of place, but letting go of things I can't control and getting to know myself. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest underlying things for me has been a couple things, but I used to feel so very much responsible for other people's feelings.
Sure.
and reactions and responses to me and other things. And it just was insanity. It was just so much. And it whipped me around like a freaking roller coaster. And so when I finally was able to get to a place where I had to remind myself, like actively remind myself that other people's feelings and responses and actions and all that stuff, it's just not my responsibility. I'm responsible for me. Huge weight off my shoulders. It really has decreased my anxiety.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean I can't pray for people or help them if they are in need, but there's a line there that I had to draw because there was no line my entire life. I was like so enmeshed with everybody else's stuff.
Sure.
And made it my own, you know, and so I think that happens too when you're an empath, but I think there is a difference between an unhealthy empath and a healthy one. So that's been interesting because I think at one point I thought, gosh, if I draw a line, is that going to cut off the empathy? Because there was a part of me that enjoyed, you know, and still does enjoy feeling for people, you know, when they're going through something. But it just was so overpowering and all encompassing before. So that's been very good. It's been very helpful on my healing journey. And it's just changed everything. So that's what I'll share.
Okay, that's great. I feel like we're not taught how to set boundaries for ourselves. I mean, if we were, I mean, I remember being in first and second grade, and I remember a couple things that they taught me. One is get in line, keep your hands to yourself was the other one. But I wasn't taught healthy boundaries either at school or by my parents or anyone else really. My point is that, you know, you growing up a people pleaser and we're all kinds of bleeds together, and you do things for other people and it's all enmeshed like that. In my opinion, boundaries are something, if you need them, they should help you be more self-actualized and protect yourself. And as we've discussed before, and this whole thing isn't about boundaries, but it just made me think of it because I heard someone on one of the YouTube channels that I've been listening to talking about boundaries, and he was talking about that he was applying counseling ideas and mental health on the God of the Old Testament, which is very interesting. I won't get into all that, but he was talking about boundaries and how if people understood the way boundaries work and mental health and things like that, it'd be way easier to understand the world that we live in and things like that. So I think if you had been taught, this is just my opinion, of course, but if you had been taught, any of us had been taught to set boundaries when needed. I mean, I'm very much like Glenn's idea. You don't set any boundaries. You just react when you realize that you have to react. You're open to everybody. And, you know, I aspire to be like that. And I think I've come a long way. So in answer to my question, what the biggest change you've made? I've made several. We moved, and that's a big deal, bigger than you think. I think you just, I got to move and I hate moving, but it's a big deal moving to a different city, not very far away, of course, about 20 minutes from where we used to live, but living on a plot of land. I mean, it's still renting, but it's very different than apartment living. So it's a huge change. Also, this past year, I got a corporate job. I generally don't like corporate jobs. I certainly don't like having to go into an office and sitting in a cubicle, but it's a big change. And it's been a good change. So I think those two things moving was for the better. Certainly, definitely saved us about $200 a month in rent, but it's also the same amount of square feet, and we have a yard and carport, and I never have to jockey for position for a parking spot when I come home after 5 o'clock, and the whole parking lot is full. You know, there's always a parking spot, and it's little things like that I think make a huge difference. And there are other changes I've made. This past year, I dropped 52 pounds. Some of you may know about that. that is a huge change, and that was definitely for the better. And all I did was, make better choices, and it has helped my self-esteem and helped me feel healthier, and it's been great. So job, moving, and some health choices, all for the better. I can't think of anything that's worse this year. Our finances are a little bit better, making it's hard yards, of course, still. I mean, with everything being as high as it is, gas and food's ridiculous. Don't even get me started. How expensive things are. So outside of me, things seem to be worse in some ways, but our little bubble, this little 0.9 acres of the world, everything is a lot better, and I'm happy for the changes. Glenn, what are the biggest changes you've made this year? What kind of changes were they, and were they for the better or worse, or little of each?
I got a feeling I'm going to be a bit of a wet blanket on some of this stuff. Man, I cruise. I don't really set out to make changes. I just adapt as required, if that makes any sense. So I'm not thinking, well, what am I going to change? What am I going to do differently? Nope. Man, I don't have the energy for that. It's like I've got a toothache now. Well, I've adapted. I rang the dentist. I'm going to get it fixed. That's it. It's on the fly, man.
You're so chill.
Oh, well, now on a more serious note, and when you are in a relationship with a person with a disability, and we've got Nez as a daughter with a disability, I've got a son, and Sandra, of course, you don't have the freedom to necessarily do the things you want for yourself, because you are responsible for the care of another person. So that puts limitations on a person, because, as you can understand, their needs take priority, because if they don't, they're in way big trouble. So I think that being adaptable on the fly seems to work. And if I had to make, the only thing I can really think of as a result of the show on TSL, where I said, I'll go down to the church and check it out.
Yeah.
I ended up with having communication and ongoing with some really nice people, so I'm very gratified by that. Sandra's supportive, and just to get some social contact has been really good, so that's a real positive change.
Sure. Excellent. All right.
That's probably about it.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that. Fly by the seat of your pants. Be adaptable. Be ready, and take things as they come. Not bad advice for sure. A couple people answer in the chat. I'm going to read those after Marisa gives her answer. What do you say, Marisa? What are the biggest changes you've made this year, and what kind of changes were they? And were they for the better or worse, or a little of each?
Well, I got off of Big Pharma. I decided that I gave it a fair shake for quite a while, and it just really wasn't doing much for me. And I had a good report from my doctor from tests taken before I decided to carry forward and do this. So I'm reasonably and quite well managing what conditions I do have. So that's good. I wasn't stepping off into something completely dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think, other than dealing with a little sinus issue right now, for the most part, it's been a much better decision for me. I'm not saying everybody should do it, or even, should consider it depending on what medications you're on. I'm just saying, for me right now, I think it was a good choice. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if I'm going to go back. I've got plans to see a different doctor, a woman this time, who might be a little more understanding of what a woman needs at my age. I don't know. I'm willing to try.
Sure.
But that's something I made. I made that appointment I won't get to see her until April. So early this year in April, I made an appointment to see a different doctor, and that doesn't happen till next April. So that was a big change, even though it's going to take a long time to get there, but coming up.
Sure.
And really actively trying to maintain a better way of managing my time. Glenn brought up a good point. When you are responsible for the care of somebody else, whether it's just children or special needs individuals or special needs children, their needs come first. But you do have to make time, and I learned, for your own self-care, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be good for anybody or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to be helpful to the person you're trying to help. So I've been trying to be better at time management.
Sure.
I'm trying better to, if I got time to lean, I got time to clean mentality. Only with a goodie, if you got time to goof off for 20 minutes, cut that in half, and 10 minutes you can be spent cleaning something or straightening something or organizing something,
Sure.
something.
Sure.
Baby steps. I've been trying to not get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed. So if I just do baby steps, take a break and such, learning to do things that way has been very helpful for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that. All right. From the chat, Christ of the Truth says, for me, the best thing that helps me is just to focus on Christ. Truth also says, I hope the rapture happens soon. And so many bad stuff happened to me and my family this year, but throughout it all, God was there and he's working so much out of it. So that's a good thing. So appreciate that. I'm sorry so many bad things happened, but certainly if God is working things out and I mean, that's wonderful. And so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Bubba News says, Christ is the truth. Bingo. This year, especially dogging into the world this year, watching the scriptures explode into life. Never seen it so alive before in my life. And then he says, digging or digging. And then let's see, make sure we don't miss anybody. Bobby says, speaking of parents of special needs children, I sent my son another threatening elf picture. Am I a bad mother? Laughing my ass off. Oh, that's good stuff. And then Bobby also says, if every day is a gift, why do you hope for the rapture? That's a good question. Truth, if you feel like answering that in the chat, Bobby has a good question for you to answer. All right. Moving on to the next one. Next question Marisa asks is, what did you learn this year that you really didn't know before? A skill set, an exercise, a new way to eat. How has it helped you? What did you learn this year that you really didn't know before? A skill set, an exercise, a new way to eat. How has it helped you?
Ooh, I'll go.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
So this diet that we did, and Jason's still doing it. I do think that eating every 2 to 3 hours, a little bit of eating every 2 to 3 hours is actually really good for your metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had more success with that. I don't think per se that it's the food.
Right. No.
I just think it's I do think that the food is helpful. It's got a lot of different vitamins and minerals and probiotics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just been fascinated about how this diet is structured and the data and what's the word I'm looking for? The I can't think of the word. Just the data that they've collected, like scientific research. That's the word I can think of. Thank you, babe. So that's just been fascinating to do that, because I've tried a whole bunch of different diets before.
Yeah, me too.
And we had some success with the keto and intermittent fasting, but I think when you're older, the way your metabolism changes and slows down, I think this is actually a better fit.
Yeah.
So that's just been great. I know we aren't our weight,
Right.
But there is something about losing some weight and feeling more confident in your body and just, I don't know. I just felt very uncomfortable in my body for a long time. So this is
Yeah.
a nice change.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you, Jen. And I'll go next because mine kind of fits in with what Jen just says. Certainly, I agree with her 100% on making some different choices with the diet. I like this. I have also carried weight around for a long time, more of my life than not. Up until I was in my 20s, I mean, I gained a little bit of weight when I went through puberty, nothing major. Of course, I felt so fat, and kids are cruel. They make fun of any possible thing they can pick out, and I wasn't free of that from other people. So had people make fun of me for gaining a little bit of weight, and I felt like a huge lump. And I look back at pictures of myself, and it doesn't match what I perceived about myself back then. But anyway, the point is I've carried the weight around, and so making the choices, better choices. I like it because it's packaged. Most of the food, either you can just eat right away out of the bag, or it takes 2 to 3 minutes to prepare some of the hot meals and stuff, and then have a reasonable dinner at night. And also I have to thank Jennifer, because yes, the reality is I could do this on my own, but she makes it easy because she enjoys cooking. I mean, she really honestly says that she enjoys it, and I don't enjoy it so much. So that's really helpful as well. And I mentioned work for the first question, and I have to say that I've learned a lot with that too. I mean, I've been in customer service for a long time, but it's a new company. They do things different ways, and I have excelled at the job, and my numbers are really good. And part of that is because I've been willing to learn. I've had a teachable spirit, so to speak, and yeah, it's a new skill set when it comes to that. So definitely the diet. And also, I continue to learn in my relationship, in my marriage. I continue to learn in my relationship with other people. I think that's always a factor. So this year, I got to know my wife a lot more, and it continues. I think marriages fail because people stop getting to know each other. I mean, there's other reasons too, but I think that's one reason. It's what I've observed being a single person that hung around a lot of married people and watching my parents and my grandparents and things like that. I think dynamic marriage is, continuing to know a person, and hopefully we're changing, we're growing too. And so that's certainly true of me, and it's certainly true of Jen. So it's waking up every day with a person and getting to know who they are today. That sounds kind of schizophrenic. Like who am I waking up next to today? What's she going to be like? It's not like that. Yeah, it's not like that. Thankfully, it's just little changes that are made every day, and also living in a new place. I learned how to experience everything in a different way, in a different atmosphere, and it's wonderful. And also tying back in the diet, I shared with Jen that I'm walking differently. I mean, 52 pounds may not seem like a lot to some, but it changes the way I carry my weight. I don't have to carry it like I did before. And back when I was a lot heavier, and people would say, "Oh, you don't want to go for a hike?" And I thought, well, just strap 52 pounds of weights on your body and tell me how much you want to go up the side of a hill. I don't think people that have never struggled with it don't understand how difficult it would be. And yes, I did it to myself. There are lots of reasons why. So it's been a huge change and a huge learning process. It's a different life, really, all the way around. So that's my answer. Marisa, would you like to answer next? What did you learn this year that you didn't really know before? A skill set, an exercise, a new way to eat. How has it helped you?
I've learned that the benefits of medical cannabis, the oil in particular, has helped me not desire nicotine as much as I used to.
Oh,
I'm still struggling back and forth, but it's been days since I've had cigarettes, and I actually broke down and got a pack today. But it's getting to be fewer and farther between the times.
that's
So the
good.
desire is leaving. I think it's more now just a habit when you're talking on the phone. Sometimes people who smoke understand. You know, when you're talking to somebody or talking to other smokers, you naturally grab for a cigarette. That's something that you just do. So I'm learning to break those habits that go with that. So just and I've learned, I think it's just if I have them here, I'm going to smoke them. So just don't have them here.
Right.
And I didn't go into crazy mode. I didn't get all angry and grouchy and blah, you know.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's the grace of God, because a lot of times when you come off of an addiction, you're going to go a little cuckoo. And that's just because your body is detoxing from something. But thankfully, I've been spared all that. I just need to not go back to it once I'm done. So,
yeah. Okay. Thanks, Maurice. I appreciate that. I want to say hello to our good friend Annette Sandrock, who popped in the chat with a wavy hand. Hello, Annette. Glad you're here.
Hey, Annette.
Yep. Glenn, you're last on this one. What did you learn this year that you really didn't know before? A skill set, an exercise, a new way to eat. How has it helped you?
Wet blanket.
You've been eating wet blankets, Glenn?
No, I don't.
I love that you.
Is that a new diet?
I love that when you before you.
Look, I think just on a more broad sense, I don't look at it like that again. I just don't think, what did I learn? What did I do? What did I eat? Yada yada. I think the key here is each experience that you have, as long as you're open to learn from it. I think a lot of it's very intrinsic. It just happens. I don't sit there, well, what did I learn from that experience? No, just you learn from doing it.
Yeah.
So I can't sit there and really give you some fantastic, insightful answer. Just say, well, I was open to learn from each of one of those, and hopefully I have. And I think the key is being open to it. Once you close yourself off, that's really not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So you become more aware, put it that way.
Sure.
It's like Jen said, really. I mean, she's aware of things that she's changed. Well, yeah, that's great. I'm not so much like that. I just see it's just an ongoing process.
Yeah. And I see it that way too. Glenn, would you say that you don't look backward a whole lot? You know, like sort of reflecting? But I feel like I've seen you do that before, mainly when you're helping other people.
That's a very interesting question, because I immediately thought of Cripps' mum, because she said to me once, I look backwards, as in she looks backwards, and she said, and you look forwards. So,
yeah.
So I'd say she probably nailed it pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean you can't learn from reflection. I think reflection is important.
Yeah.
And using your past experiences to, maybe amend how you behave and respond in the future. But I think, no, I'm more in the moment. I'm not going to dwell. If something bad happened in the past, it will not tear me apart. No.
Yeah.
I sort of have that equilibrium that doesn't sort of get flustered and take stuff to heart. I just say, okay, well, this is what it is. I can't change it. What's the point?
Yeah.
Like Nez said, she said, focus on, if you can't. How much energy do people put into stuff that they have no chance of even being able to get any value from it? It's just like, you can reflect on something 100 times, but if it will not get you anywhere, why would you bother? That's how I look at it.
Absolutely. I think it's good to pick and choose. I know I've reflected on some things that it wasn't beneficial.
Sure.
Gosh, I waste a lot of time.
Yeah, but you've come a long way from that reflection. It's not putting a negative on reflection. It's just that sometimes it can go over the top, and it's the reflection that can consume you, and going forward is inhibited.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're walking in the present and into the future, but your head's stuck in the past.
That's it.
Yep.
What's impossible to do.
Beautiful.
So I see it.
Yeah, that's when you trip over shit.
That's right. That's when you're in the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Glenn.
Glenn. I want to add to that just real quick. We talk about my mom so much, which delights my heart, really. And I think about her every day. And I love that Glenn had a relationship with her because I have learned more about her. I continue to learn more about her even after she's in a different place, not here with us, among the human living, and I look at the past. You can definitely learn from the past, but I agree with what both of you are saying. You can spend too much time there. I had this conversation with my mom. That's what made me think of it. And I said, I look at the past as a signpost to show me where I've been. And sometimes I like to revisit those places, and sometimes I like to just keep moving forward. And that's the way it has been for me. And I've gotten to a place of equilibrium where it comes to that, where I'm not spending as much time, but reflection, thinking about the past, especially, they set January 1st as the beginning of the year, and it makes no sense really. In the past, it seemed like they celebrated a different time. It's not a conspiracy theory; it's just a calendar thing. But either way, that's the time that we celebrate it. And reflecting over the past year, what things did I do that I want to continue, or do I want to learn new things, or am I happy where I'm at? And I think reflection can help in that way. But I agree definitely with the point that you can get overwhelmed by it if you just spend time there. So I think, like everything else, a balance. I use the word equilibrium. Is good. So thank you guys for answering the questions. And by the way, just as a reminder to everyone in the chat, love that you guys talk about whatever you want to talk about. But if you feel like answering these questions in the chat, I really like reading your responses. So if you feel like doing that, please add them. Okay.
We would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Face the Ace just popped in the chat. Says howdy guys and Nez Lever. Excellent. Welcome. Face the Ace. We're glad that you're here. All right. Let's see. Everyone answer that question. So the next question is, what part of you do you seek to improve next? Something physical, something emotional, something spiritual. These are really good to get us ready for the new year, because we'll have a couple more broadcasts before the first of the year. And I think I've shared, I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but I would rather be in an attitude of always trying to change and grow. But I think it's good to look at the past year and as I just said, to think about what things you want to change. So these are good. They get us into attitude, getting us ready for the new year. So thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that. So what part do you seek to improve next? Something physical, something emotional, something spiritual? Anyone want to take a stab at this one first?
I'd say all three for me.
Okay. Sure.
Just continuing on a healthy journey with eating and getting in shape, getting stronger.
Sure.
I don't know if it's going to happen in the next year, but at some point I would love to take like a self-defense class. I think that'd be really fun. That or boxing. And let's see, emotionally, yes. I'm actually in trauma therapy right now, and it's been wonderful. I think I've been seeing her for like 2 months now, maybe. And very good fit, very wonderful lady. And just walking through past stuff, not getting stuck there, but walking through some things to help make a little more sense of them, just to move forward. I feel like I with Jason's help and with God, and I've come a long way, but I just felt like a few months ago, I was like, okay, I'm at a spot where I'm stuck, and it's okay to ask for outside help, professional help.
Yeah. So
I've been doing that, and it's been very beneficial. So that's really good, getting healthier emotionally and spiritually. That's its own wild ride.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
God and I are on an adventure.
Yeah, you are.
Oh my goodness. That's pretty much the TLDR. Too long, don't read, or whatever it stands for. What does TLDR stand for?
I don't know. What that is.
Any of you Reddit lovers out there, share it in the comments.
Oh, okay.
It's a way to shorten a story, so you don't
okay.
ramble on too long.
No, you don't ramble.
Good.
I just want to add to what you said, Jennifer, that I think there's a lot of evidence that you're improving. You know, we went to visit Jen's parents at Thanksgiving, and every time we go, I think it gets a little better. And it's not necessarily, I do feel like her parents are working on some things. It felt a lot better this time around. And but what I see most is that Jen has been working on herself, and part of the therapy thing has been dealing with family stuff, and you know, I'm just observing the changes that are happening, especially when we are around her family, because that can be tough for anybody. You know, being around family at the holidays. I mean, my gosh, there are YouTube channels that focus just on Christmas. You know, Thanksgiving too, but anytime you're around family, it can be difficult depending on how you were raised. You know, some people just go no contact and they don't even deal with it. But if you are willing to go into the lion's den, for some people, you have to be prepared. And I feel like there's a lot of evidence, Jen, that you're making the changes you've made, things that you're working on are super beneficial.
Yeah. And I'll just share real quick with our listeners, this past Thanksgiving, there was 3 instances that things could have gone awry. But the cool thing is that I stuck up for myself. I spoke up for myself, which is a miracle. I think I've been stuck in such a deep rut kind of role with my family. You know, this idea that I'm the girl in the family. I've got 3 brothers. And even when I was younger, even before my last marriage, I was a yes person. I felt like to be a good kid, you had to never talk back, don't have boundaries, never say no, say yes all the time. And so I had 3 different opportunities to speak up for myself this past Thanksgiving, and I did it. And that was a really big deal. I didn't even have to think about it. It just happened. No. And I think being married to Jason has been really helpful, because when I speak up, hold on, I had a hair in my mouth. When I speak up for myself with Jason, he laughs, like, he's like, "Hey, you want to try these things?" No. And then he just starts cracking up. He's so delighted that I feel safe enough to say no to him. It's been really, really good practice, just being me and having autonomy. Yeah. So that was really wonderful. It was a big inner win for myself. And because I think part of my hesitation with seeing family is I'm afraid of flipping back into that old role. And then what happens is it feels like a self-betrayal. Like in those moments in the past, I've wanted to speak up for myself and I don't, because I'm so used to being silent. And then after the fact, like, everything seems fine, but then after the fact, I'm super pissed off at myself for not saying something. And then I ruminate on, I should have said this, and I should have done that. And it's so frustrating. And it's emotionally painful for me to recognize that I'm not standing up for myself or speaking up for myself. So that was a huge, huge deal. And it just was very helpful, very healing.
I'm super proud.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can tell.
Am I too proud? I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, when someone, there's a difference between being filled with pride and being having pride in changes you've made that are helping you be a better person, and that's what I see. You becoming a better person and becoming less tethered to things that aren't helpful to you moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way of describing it.
Yeah. And as I said, the cool thing is, and this is what a person could hope for, is that when they make changes, that their family embraces those changes. And yes, they may buck it at first. They may, fight against it because a lot of people want their family member to stay the same. And change can be scary for other people, not just for you, but for others. And as I mentioned, the more times we visit, as she continues to change, I feel like they've adjusted and gotten better. And I even feel like this past time, I feel like they've made some changes themselves. And it's separate from what Jen is doing, but it is noticeable, and it just makes it better for everybody. Just take a breath. Try to accept that someone wants to change, and hopefully work on yourself. And it was a really good visit this past time around. But,
can I just share real quick one of the stories?
Of course. Yeah.
It's amusing. Okay, so my mom orders me around, and she does it in this like way that's not mean,
Right.
but it's still ordering me around. And we were all sitting at the table eating breakfast, and Jason hadn't gotten up yet. And that was really sweet too. My parents were like, let him sleep, So we're sitting there, and my brother had called me. My oldest brother, Dave, had called because my mom and Dave and I were going to go to the grocery store to get some things for the next day for Thanksgiving. And so we're sitting at the table. I have my phone in my left hand, and it's on speakerphone. And I go to pick up my fork, and I'm eating while I'm talking to Dave. Some might think that's rude. But my mom motioned to me to put down my phone. And she said something like, put your phone down. And I gave her this look like, excuse me? if you guys can picture my face. Yeah. I stopped mid-bite, and I looked at her, gave her this look. And it wasn't like a mean look or anything, but it was like this, excuse me, what did you just say to me look? And she was like, oh gosh, I'm sorry, you do whatever you want. And I was like, yeah, okay. You damn skippy. And so it's small things like that, but it's a big deal to me because I'm just so used to being subservient to everybody around me, like even kids. It's crazy.
Wow.
So I'm celebrating.
Yeah. Great. Who was next? Marisa. Marisa, I think I was about to ask you to answer the question. What part of you do you seek to improve next? Something physical, something emotional, something spiritual? What do you think?
I'm working on all three, and above all else, Scripture tells us to seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. And we're to study and show ourselves approved. So I've really been putting an extra emphasis on getting into more Bible study. I prefer Now You See TV and Midnight Ride and Underground Church, some good channels, some good Bible study shows here on YouTube. A lot of them are run by a man by the name of David Carrico. Cute little old Italian man, him and his wife Donna. They have, yes, they've been at it for over 40 years. They have a very powerful ministry helping people getting through ritual abuse, satanic abuse, things like that. Man knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So I've really been digging in to more intense Bible study, and if I do that first, everything else just kind of falls into place. So
yeah, excellent. Pound that like button, Marisa. Anyway, Glenn, how about you? What blanket? What part do you seek to improve next? Something physical, something emotional, something spiritual?
Nah. But whilst you were all speaking, I thought, I'm really fortunate. I'm surrounded by such kind people.
Sure.
I think when you have that around that blanket, so to speak, I think it's very difficult to not be anything but empathic and considerate and all that, because it just comes, it's so natural. You're not in a place where you're always seeking, you have this aggravation or angst or conflict. So I don't have that. I was just thinking, one of my boys is in a sort of a, what should I say, he's emotionally pretty traumatised at the moment by some stuff that's going on.
Oh.
And the first thing, when I got home, we had a chat, and both the boys are always so forthright. They give it to you straight, which is, of course, from my perspective, absolutely wonderful, because
Yes.
they just lay it on me straight out, and of course I'm going to respond in kind, but I could feel that this one son, he needs right now some moral support. He lives a fair way away. So I said to Sandra, I said, look, I think he needs some support. From me personally, I haven't seen him for quite a while. I think I need to go. What do you think? And of course, knowing Sandra's got severe limitations.
Yeah.
Like if she's left alone, it's difficult for her. And what's the first thing she says? You should go. Like that sort of, when you get that response from any person that is so selfless, it brings you down to a place where like you used the word privilege, Crips, and you're just amazed that people who are in difficult situations can be so loving and just amazing.
Yeah.
So even with my son yesterday, when he was telling me the story, I thought the first thing I thought of, I wish your mum was alive. I would have got straight onto her to ask for her help.
Yeah.
See, that's, once again, everything carries forward, so it's not really looking to improve anything. I think it's just more of the same, really. Just better experiences, more experiences, and how can you use... See, I think that the improvement part helps you to help others.
Yeah,
And I think
100%.
that's the real key to this, is how can you be of service to the world.
I agree. If more people thought like that, I think the world would absolutely, unequivocally be a better place. No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that. All right. From the chat, before we move on to the next one, we were talking about these three things that Marisa mentioned: physical, emotional, and spiritual. And Truth says, all three for me. And he also says, I don't do resolutions either. I just like new beginnings. So yeah, that's great. Bobby says, I seek to improve physically. I'd like to lose more weight, and I'm fairly certain I need physical therapy on my shoulder. Bobby also, I just lost it. There it is. Bobby also says, I obviously do not seek to improve spiritually, emotionally. I feel I need a vast improvement, and I also have been taking medications for this as well. Thank you. Thank you, Truth and Bobby, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Let's see, make sure I don't miss anybody. I guess that's it. Okay. Thank you guys for sharing. Appreciate that so much. All right. Next question. If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why? If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why? I'll tell you exactly. It popped immediately to mind. And I don't read these. I like to not read the write-ups when other people do them. I like to, do cold
Do
read.
it fresh. Yeah. Cold read.
I really do. And sometimes when Glenn has written write-ups in the past, he'll ask me if he has a reason why he wants me to read questions. Back in the day, he used to ask me to read them. And I think part of it was because when he started doing write-ups, we had other people involved. And I think he wanted to make sure, that they would work for the broadcast and things like that. But he doesn't ask anymore because I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel like he knows that I trust him to do the write-ups, and I don't need to check it. We've been doing this a long time, so it seems to move forward very easily. But anyway, I didn't read the questions, and this is a good one. If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why? I can only think of one thing, and that is that when I got this new job, I kind of had an attitude because I had worked from home since COVID,
The pandemic. Yeah.
And I know I needed a change. I needed more money than I was making, and although the job I have is a hybrid, which means I work a week from home and I work a week from the office. That's the way it works. And the job I was hired for has a range from $14 an hour to $22.50 an hour. And so when I was talking to the recruiter, I was kind of coming from a place where I knew I needed a job and I didn't want to go too high. So between the two, I picked the center, the median rate, and asked for that. And then my thinking was that after 90 days or so, I would know the work, I would know what I was doing. And then, of course, I'm going to get a bump. Well, I haven't gotten a bump, and I have asked for one. I went in and told both my supervisors what I expected and what I would like to see happen as soon as possible. One is a change of schedule. That was another thing that I accepted that I didn't like, but I know when you start a new job, you're starting at the bottom, and other people that have worked there longer than you get better schedules. But I had the expectation that, again, after I was there for a while, that they would let me change my schedule. I do not like having only one day off with my wife. It's just the bottom line. And so I told my supervisors both things that I wanted, and I went and talked to the big chief honcho over the customer support at the company I work for. And he was very good, and I got a lot of positive feedback about my work and, how I'm doing and, how people think of me in the office and things like that. And he said, I don't want you to think that you came in here and just said all these things and I'm not going to do anything. But basically he said, just wait, it's coming, that kind of attitude. But I wished I'd asked for more. I feel like since I've been there, my self-esteem, not having worked a corporate job for a long time, I didn't want to go too high. But I feel like I undercut myself a little bit. I mean, I'm grateful. There are a lot of jobs when I was looking for a job. There was a lot of jobs that pay a lot less than what I'm making. So I'm grateful. Please don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the job. I'm grateful that I have something, that we're not living on the street. But I feel like I undercut myself a little bit. Now, this is learning. It's a learning process. If I apply for a job again, I've learned a lot from this, and I continue to grow and change. And I just regret that I didn't look at myself as more of a commodity. My mom would always say, ask for what you want. All they can do is say no. And I wish I have thought of myself a little bit higher and asked for more, because this other job that I have, the drafting, I make anywhere from $30 to $35 an hour doing that. Now, I don't expect to do that in a customer service situation. They're not going to pay me $35 an hour. But I feel like I should have considered myself worth more. But like I said, I learned from it, and hopefully it'll work out, and they'll give me the things that I'm asking for. I put the time in. I've been there 9 months, and I'm in my 10th month now with this company. And have no intention of leaving, but we'll wait around a couple of months and see if these changes come. But I wish I would have asked for more. More than it being a financial thing, it's seeing myself as worthy of more, not being selfish, not being obsessed or absorbed, but just knowing what I'm worth and asking for that. All they can do is say no.
Yeah.
That's my long-winded answer to that one. Let's ask Glenn. We'll switch up the order a little bit. What part? If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why, if there is anything for you, Glenn?
Blanket. Why bother?
I'm going to send Glenn a blanket for Christmas.
Thanks, Jen.
It won't be wet. That's on your end.
A digital blanket will do.
All right, cool.
No, that's it. Well, if you did, why undo it? If you've done it, it's over. Hopefully you learnt from it. What's the point? No. I don't take that on. It is what it is. Move on.
Okay.
That's it. Easy.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. Want to say hello to our friend Celine, who popped in chat. Looks like she has changed her icon. I can't really see what it is, but it's a different icon than before. We're glad you're here, Celine. Hope your Thanksgiving was good, and hope you're doing all right. So thanks for showing up. We love it. Okay. Marisa, you're last on this one. If you could undo something you did this year, what would it be and why?
Shouldn't have picked up those cigarettes. Shouldn't have done it. Plain simple. But like Glenn says, it's done. You just deal with it and move on. So,
Yep.
I can't, I'm not going to walk back to the store and take them back. I'm just going to be more resolute about not doing that again. So we're going to move forward. So,
yeah.
Short answer.
Okay, that's all right. All right. Everyone answered that one. If you could undo something. So next one is if you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something, never to
Wait,
have to.
I didn't answer.
I thought you did. I'm sorry.
Nope.
My fault. Sorry, Jen.
Oh, it's okay.
I usually ask you first, so I
you switched up the order,
yeah.
and that order was to leave me out.
It was. It
I'm
was
just picking
not.
on you. I know. I'm just kidding.
It was. It totally was.
I knew it.
See, Chris regrets it already. He did something. He said, "I'm sorry."
Yep.
Was he really sorry? That's the question. Or did
I
he
don't
just
know.
say sorry because it was a natural, instinctive reaction?
Well,
It was a naughty sorry.
Good thing I don't have to convince you of anything, Glenn.
You can try.
I don't need to try. You're going to think what you want, and
Very true.
That's so true.
You know me well.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I think we talked about this on the show at some point, but Jason and I went to a graduation with my family back in, was it April or May? I think it was April. And when we got there, my one sister-in-law, just ignored Jason almost the whole weekend. And she was very cold.
Yeah.
It was very obvious that there was something going on because everybody else was talking with him and enjoying his company and vice versa and stuff. And I was so shocked because we were really looking forward to seeing this one brother and sister-in-law because they live in Texas. And so we don't get to see him very often. And so to show up and this cold energy coming off of her, and then that happening during the weekend, it just was very jarring. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't even understand. And so this is sort of a trauma for me because the times that I've had friends do this or guys or family members in the past, I scramble around assuming that I'm the problem and trying to fix it, or going into the fawn response where I'm being overly nice and overly loving to try to make up for whatever is happening that's causing this person to act this way.
Right.
And it wasn't until 2 weeks later that I realized that she was treating me and Jason like someone else in our family in the past had treated her. Wow. And I just was like, what the heck? And it just made me really angry and really upset me. Sure. But if I could go back and redo it, I would have had Jason and I approach her, possibly with my brother as well, and said, hey, we're noticing that you're acting strange and you're not talking to Jason, and it's very uncomfortable and weird. If there's something going on or we've done something, we would love to sit down with you and talk about it because we're here. We're happy to see you guys. And this behavior toward us, toward my husband, is very just not polite and not nice.
Yeah.
So can you please share with us what's going on? And we could have had a sit down and talked about it and cleared the air. But what ended up happening, because I didn't do that, was just me distancing myself from my brother and his wife, because I just, and that was one positive change in a sense, even though I wish I would have done it a little differently. But I recognized, okay, this is this other person's issue. I don't have to take responsibility for it. I can look at it as more information about this person and just know that I can't really trust or be close with someone that acts like this and doesn't, because I've had to understand and learn that when someone else is upset, the old me used to scramble around and try to force them to talk to me or force a reconciliation or whatever. And now I have this hands-off approach, knowing that that person, I don't know what I did. I don't think I did anything, but if they're upset, it's their responsibility to come talk to me. And if they choose not to, that's okay. And that's on them.
Yeah.
And that was a very hard lesson for me, because there were months with a couple of different situations where I had to sit in the uncomfortable feelings and the anxiety because I wasn't doing the trauma response that I had spent my whole entire life doing. The running around like a chicken with its head cut off, and being really, really upset that I'm like, these thoughts of, oh my gosh, this person doesn't like me. And I would freak out, and it would make me just very hypervigilant and anxious. And it's so different now. There's so much peace just being able to let go of somebody else's stuff and not taking it on as my own.
Yeah.
So that was huge. So I do wish we could go back and do it a little differently, but having done it the way I did it, it's a lesson learned.
Sure.
You know, like, okay, I didn't do it the way I would have hoped I would have handled it, but that's okay. I can do better next time. So
yeah, you absolutely can.
And you learned about not being manipulated by the narcissist, so that's good.
Right.
Yes.
Good point.
Yes.
Good point, Marisa. Yeah, of course, if your mom were here and Marisa said that, she would say, who made you a therapist?
Don't label anybody.
Yeah, don't label. There's no labels.
No labeling, Nez.
So,
I didn't point anybody out specifically. I didn't.
You did not.
In general, not to be
It's a generalized
manipulated by
statement.
the narcissist. There you go.
There you go. I like it. All right. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next one. And everyone did answer that time. And if you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something, never to have to do it again, what would that be? We'll ask Glenn, definitely reverse order. If you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something, never to have to do it again, what would that be, Glenn?
Yeah. Okay. I won't blanket this one.
Okay.
You want us to come back to you? Or
No. I'm happy to answer. I'm just saying I'm not using the wet blanket.
Right.
I would just like to wake up and see Sandra as a functional person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means I wouldn't have to care for her. And no, I mean in the sense that I do now. And
Yeah,
she also
of course.
wouldn't have to suffer the indignity
Right.
of the loss of her independence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
a very huge ask, but that's how I would see it.
Yeah.
Even if it meant that I would take half of her stuff for her and we'd share it, I would do that.
Oh, Glenn,
Well,
that's very sweet.
yeah.
Well, that's sometimes the cookie crumbles, as you say, I think.
Yeah.
And it can fall either way.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but that'd be it for sure.
Okay.
That's a really good point you made, Glenn, about Sandra having, with the stroke having happened. It does, obviously it takes away her independence, but you worded it so well. It kind of puts a different perspective on things. It's not just the things that you do every day for her, you know what I mean? And that's a weight on you. This is a weight on Sandra as well.
Absolutely. You think of the things she can't do. You can't put toothpaste on a toothbrush, or you can't, the most basic things that we take for granted.
Yes.
And yet on that cruise ship, we saw people way worse than Sandra. You think of someone like with motor neurone disease and they're in a wheelchair and they can't do anything. Those people, I just looked at Sandra and I said, we got it easy.
Wow.
It's very easy to find someone who is so much worse off, and yet you see love being exhibited in so many ways, and people are amazing.
Yeah.
Really incredible.
Sure.
So I think if we can look at it from a perspective of being privileged to be able to do it for someone, I think it makes it a lot easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Even to accept that, sometimes people find it hard to accept the reality and the truth of what you're faced with. But the sooner you do it, I think the easier it gets.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it. Marisa, what do you say to this one? If you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something, never to have to do it again, what would that be?
I agree with Bobby. If I somehow did not have to sleep and just be done and be able to function normally, healthily, and accomplish more in the time we've got, I agree with Bobby. I would say if I didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
Easy answer.
Yeah. Jen? Well, what do you say? If you could wake up tomorrow and be done with something, never have to do it again, what would it be?
At first I was thinking work, but I do like to work. I think it would be great if we all were we were talking about this a few days ago, I think, Jason, where it's like if our world wasn't revolved around money and working for money, if things were just provided, whether it was like trading with people and all that kind of stuff, where work would be just helping people. I think that would be amazing. And you wouldn't have to worry about bills and rent and all of this stuff. It's just somehow a way that it's provided for everybody. And people are in a place to help other families and, in whatever way, do their dreams, their hobbies, work in a sense, but it doesn't feel like slavery.
That
would be nice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Fantastic. And that's the way I was going to answer too. The first thing that popped in my head was not have to not do work, but work for someone else. That was going to be my answer.
Oh, yeah, that's a good answer.
I agree.
I changed mine.
No, that's okay, because I was thinking, if we were our own boss, we had something we could do where you and I work together, something like that. I know earlier on in our marriage, you said you didn't want to do that, but then you changed your mind later after we got into a stride and balance and stuff, that if there was something we could do together, we'd be more than happy to do that. So that's my secondary answer. But really what came to mind was if I could wake up tomorrow and be done with the lies that everyone tells in the world, and never have to hear those again, that everyone would have to tell the truth. It's the one verse in the Bible that I really hope that I'm alive to see happen. Everything hidden will be revealed. Nothing is hidden. Everything that hidden will be brought into the light. That is, I really probably have an over desire to see that happen. One of my favorite movies is Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey. And I like it because his kid makes a wish that he would go a whole day and not lie. And it's hilarious. It's a comedy. But there's some poignant moments in there too, when he realizes that his whole life is based on lying. He's a lawyer, of course. And, the scene where he's having a court case and he can't lie and he's trying to defend his client, and he has to do it without lying. And he does find a way to do it. But I just thought, how interesting would it be? Politicians had to tell the truth. Now, maybe they would say things that they didn't end up being able to accomplish, but they would tell the truth, what their motivations are, what they're really about. They would have to do that. And people at work and the news media, it's not about conspiracy theories. It's just that, most people lie. They just lie. And I would like to wake up in the morning someday and everybody tells the truth. And some of the truths that you hear might be difficult to handle, but I would take that any day of the week over what I feel is given to us. It just would be, in my opinion, a much more interesting world. Churches, religions, all of that, be under some guidelines to just tell the truth, just for everyone. Tell the truth. That's extremely important to me. That's a great question. I haven't thought about that, but there it is. Before we move on, Face the Ace gave everyone in the chat a cup of coffee, and I'll take it. I'll take coffee. Okay, everyone answer that one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so in the chat, Face the Ace says, I hope 2024, I want to meet all the YouTuber special, Nez Lover and Johnny Smallpepper will be awesome. Let's see. Bobby says, sleep. I mean, I love to sleep, but do you know how productive you could be if you always felt well rested and never had to sleep? And let's see. Annette says, I like sleeping. I would want to have to be awake. I wouldn't want to have to be awake all the time. Yeah, I get that for sure. Jen says, whose beer is that? Is that your beer? Face the Ace. Bobby says, I didn't know there would be alcohol. I thought this was a dry channel.
We are changing the infrastructure.
Yeah, we sure are. We sure
Emoji alcohol is accepted.
Yeah, it is.
Acceptable.
Really, really funny people in the chat. I would love it.
All right.
Love it.
I love y'all's sense of humor.
Sorry,
That's
you don't
great.
have to be sorry. It was a wonderful comment. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we got that question under our belts. I have to do that again. Okay, next one. What keeps you from? Oh, this is a good one too. What keeps you from doing more of the things you know you should do? Is that really true or just an excuse? What can you do to change that? What keeps you from doing more of the things you know you should do? Is that really true or just an excuse? What can you do to change that? Anyone want to answer this one first?
I'll go if I am understanding the question correctly. So I tend to be avoidant of some things. Jason knows. Sure. And I have this room that a few weeks ago I ended up naming the dungeon, which probably wasn't the best idea. Because giving it a name like that is not going to help me go in there.
I think it did help you because you didn't like the name you gave it. And so you wanted to change it.
So anyway, I got home from work on Friday and I had a bee in my bonnet and I blasted some dance music and I just went to town on this room, getting things unpacked. And, I still have some work to do in it, but it was sort of like an icebreaker.
Yeah.
But literally for the last 5 months, I have walked by this door almost like we didn't have a third bedroom. Like we just had two.
Yeah.
It's just completely in my peripheral, you don't exist. And so wait, what was the question again? I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly.
What keeps you from doing more of the things you know you should do? Is that really true or just an excuse? What can you do to change that?
Okay. So yeah, I think I have an avoidant side of me, and it's very particular. It's not with everything. But another thing that I do, and I've talked about this on the show, and I'm definitely working on it, and I've talked to my therapist about it too, which has been interesting. But avoiding being creative. I definitely have come far for where I was a year or two ago. But I still feel like there's this cork stuck in me. Right. And so I'm working on figuring out what that is because it's very confusing to me. I love creating, but it's strange, the dynamics behind my avoidance of it.
Right.
So working on that. The last part of the question was,
what can you do to change that?
Yeah. So therapy, talking to my therapist about it, journaling, and just kind of digging into the whys behind why I'm avoidant of something that I enjoy. Now, I know a big part of this is programming, for lack of a better word. When I was with my ex, anytime I went to be creative or I had this huge art room in our last place that I lived with him in, and had vintage costumes and gowns and bathing suits and baubles and shiny things and sequins and sewing stuff and art supplies. It just was this place that I had collected all of this stuff to do things with. And I was never down there because every time I tried to set aside some time for myself, we would get into a fight, or he would pout, or he would get angry, or he would leave and slam the door. There was all these negative reactions to me trying to do something I loved. And I was with him for 14 years. So when there's this constant reaction to me trying to be myself, I started shutting it away and sort of, I can't remember the therapy word for, there was a negative connotation to it. There's another phrase for that. It had a negative, there ended up being something negative attached to something that I very much enjoyed. Yeah. And so it got twisted in my head to where I related being creative to something negative.
Sure.
And so I'm starting to dismantle that. And, but yeah, it's been tough. It's been very, very frustrating. So working on that.
Yeah.
Come a long way. Still got a little way to go.
You sure have. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
What about you, Marisa? What keeps you from doing more of the things you know you should do? Is that really true or just an excuse? What can you do to change that?
Some of it is time management and some of it is procrastination. And I used to just think it's all time management, and that's only partly true. Some of it is just the good old-fashioned excuse of procrastination. And what works better for me is to uh, make lists of what I need to accomplish, take small baby steps, and I've found that I can accomplish something positive and forward, even if it's just a little bit every day. I get overwhelmed when I look at the big picture. I don't know about you, but I have to just break things up into smaller sections and take it piecemeal like that so it doesn't overwhelm me. It's so much better for me that way.
Yes.
So I can avoid procrastination if I approach things in a smaller, more focused, baby steps at a time.
Yeah.
I learned that this year. So
that reminds me of that "how do you eat an elephant" phrase, one bite at a time.
Yep.
That always helps.
It does help. Thank you, Marisa.
Thanks, Marisa.
Hi, Billy. I got to say hi to Billy. I love you, Billy.
Well, that's what I was going to do. You just stepped all over me again, Marisa.
It means more when it comes from Marisa Cripps.
I know. Okay. Billy. Studio 54 is here. We're glad that you're here. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're well. All right. Glenn, what keeps you from doing more than
nothing is practically perfect in every way, right, Glenn?
Ready to roll.
Can't be bothered, rather do something else. It'll be there tomorrow. Let's cut to the chase. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do it. If I can find something better, I'll do that. And I do. So, unless you and Jen want to come and spray the weeds out in the yard or do stuff like that.
It would be a pleasure.
Look, lazy. Can't be bothered. That's it.
Glenn, you're so funny.
No excuses.
Awesome.
Well, there's no point making excuses, is it? Nobody listens.
Nope.
Right.
So, there you go. Just
all right.
Bring everything down to the lowest common denominator. Couldn't give it
yes.
For me, like Jen in the past, I procrastinated just certain things, not everything, but certain things I would definitely try to put off. I did that in my childhood more than any other time, and over the years I've gotten way better at that. My mom had this phrase. She say, every day do 2 things you don't want to do. And when she said that to me, it was a couple of years before she passed on. And at first, like a lot of things my mom would say, I was really annoyed by it. I was like, what? Do 2 things every day you don't want to do? How ridiculous is that? I just thought it was stupid. But as I thought about it, I thought, well, what a thing to focus on. And I would do it. And, something as silly as, get up and go to work, not something I always have wanted to do, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I mean, that's probably a bad example, but I did it. And then I would share with her the 2 things I wanted to do, looking at my bank account and ciphering on the columns. And it's just, it's interesting. I really honestly, and this isn't bragging or anything like that, but I can't really think of anything right now that keeps me from doing anything. I mean, finances is always an issue, but I'm doing everything I can do. For instance, this other job that I have, I had a project last weekend and it cuts into my time because I have to do it on my day off, and I'm not complaining. It is something that I have to do. So nothing keeps me from doing it. I'm grateful to have the work, and it helps us financially. So I feel like I'm in a place where I'm doing more Like I mentioned, the eating is better, and I'm doing everything I can do in that realm, and I'll continue to work on that. But I agree with what Maurice is asking. In the past, it was an excuse. I made all kinds of excuses. I think a lot of us do. Why we don't do more? Well, it's because of this. It's because of that. I mean, it's easy to come up with reasons why you shouldn't do things. It's harder to really look at it and face it. Okay, I need to tackle this. Being with Jen has really helped me with that, because I am part of a relationship. I've talked to her several times about this. When I was by myself and I'm a single person, I didn't have to worry about anybody else. Any decision I made just affected me, didn't affect other people. Like, if I didn't get up and go to work, it only affected me. Nobody was upset that I didn't go to work. It's different when you're married. It just is different. And I love being married to who I'm married to. And this is not something I mind or think about, but it's just decisions you make affect the person that you're with. So I don't feel like I do a whole lot of this right now. That's the best answer I have for that one. Sorry, it's not more. John says, I'm spinning 11 plates right now. Procrastination, well managed, is an art. Yeah. Those are two separate statements. I made them, related somehow. So you procrastinated on spinning the plates until just now. So good. That's good for you that you're doing that. All right. Okay. We're down to the last. I think everyone answered that last one, right?
I believe so.
Okay. We're down to the last question. What fault do you see in yourself that you point out in others often? How can you work on that in yourself? I'll go first on this one. I've talked a lot. I'm sure it's not the only thing I struggle with, but it's the only thing that I'm constantly aware of. And I am doing better with it, with road rage. I feel like I'm a very good driver. I've been a professional driver. I've driven black car, had to get a special license for that. And Uber and Lyft, anybody can drive Uber and Lyft. It's not a huge thing. But to do black car, there's a lot in it. I've done a lot of driving in my life, and I feel like other people, not everyone, but other people drive crazy. Either they drive too slow in the fast lane, or they just cut you off and all of that. And but in the past, I feel like I was an aggressive driver, and that's why it irritated me so much that people were in my way. And I've had to work on it. I feel like I take my time going places because I have a lot more to lose. Again, it's the same thing. And people hearing this may think, well, you should be concerned about yourself. But the fact is, when I was single, I wasn't as careful. I mean, I was careful when I drive my nieces and nephew around. If I had someone else in the car, I would relax on the pedal a little bit. But when you're married, you do have a lot more to lose, and I want to be around as long as I can. Hence the making better health choices and working a corporate job, where before I would have continued to do just miscellaneous stuff, and I would have been fine with that. But I want more things than I wanted before. It's just a different world. So the fault I saw in myself that I pointed out in others was definitely the driving, and in the past being aggressive. And I've learned that if you go out into the world, in this case, I'm talking about driving, and it seems like everyone irritates you, you're the problem. That's the way I look at it for me. So when I relaxed a little bit, and there are still people that cut you off, and there are people that are driving 15 miles below the speed limit in the fast lane. This is related, but I saw a YouTube video the other day. It's one of these, I watch these dash cam videos all the time. And this one, there was a person doing that. And at first you didn't know why the police officers were pulling them over, but it was caught on camera. Policeman, a highway patrolman got in behind a person, put their lights on, and then the guy moved into the right lane to pull over, and the cop turned his lights off and went on. And the guy just laughed and laughed. I thought it was hilarious. It was because it is a law, It's not a suggestion that if you're in the left lane, that's the faster moving lane.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I love it when you say that. Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? I don't know if it's in every state, but in this state, that is the you can get ticketed for that if you're driving slower than the speed limit in the faster moving lane. It is a ticketable offense. I probably doubt that people get those, but anyway, yeah, that's my answer to that. What do you say, Jen? What fault do you see in yourself that you point out in others often? How can you work on that in yourself?
This might come as a surprise to some of you guys because I don't show this side of me in front of many people. I do with Jason, though. I'm really critical. But it mostly comes out when we watch TV shows. I'll like pause. I'm like, why is she doing that? I don't get it. That's so stupid. I do this in real life sometimes, but it's mostly imaginary characters. But yeah, I got to work on that. Being critical. Crickets. Yeah, that's it.
Being critical. See, it's harmless though. You're being critical of actors on TV in a fictional story.
Yeah, maybe that's why I do it, because I'm like, I'm not hurting anybody. But still, it like feels good for a split second. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not good.
All right. Ness, what fault do you see in yourself that you point out in others often? How can you work on that in yourself?
Much like you with the road rage, and I need to learn to just chill out and be patient and to not let anger get a foothold. Because, like you said with road rage, there could be any number of reasons why people are driving the way they are. You don't know what kind of day they had. You don't know what kind of stress they're under. You don't know if they're on medication or off their medication or took too much medication. You don't know. You really don't know. And there really is a lot of wisdom and value in just learning when to just shut up and pay attention and observe, and then act or react accordingly in a fashion that isn't knee-jerk reactionary, that isn't motivated by, oh, that son of a bitch just pull out, that kind of, attitude. And to really just slow down, chill out, not come with your angry foot forward.
Yeah.
And to have more patience. When you want people to be patient with you and to be kind with you, and you're having problems doing that, then, like I am, then I know I need to work on those things. So.
Sure. That makes sense. Thank you, Marisa. Glenn, you're last. What fault do you see in yourself that you point out in others often? How can you work on that in yourself?
Blanket. Look, nobody's perfect. We've all got things, but some people have what I would call major faults, and some people, we've all got lots of trivial crap.
Yeah.
Little niggling things. But in general terms, I don't think I have the right to be sitting there pointing out anybody's faults.
Right.
So why would I bother? I'm too chill for that. I just take it all on board, and then it gives me a lot of more information on whether I want to actually see that person again.
Sure.
So, how do you change it? Well, I don't think I want to. I'm just happy to just stay chilled. I mean, as I said before, I've got a lot of kind and generous people around me, so I don't get the exposure that some people do out. I don't, like, in the world, because generally that people are nice. So, I mean, you get the usual bad, like, that's okay, the cruise ship, I mean, you get people who are ill-mannered, push in front of you, the wheelchair, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And you call them out for it, but it's over. It's not.
Yeah.
It's all finished.
Doesn't go on.
No. So yeah, I just, as I said, I don't see the necessity to be taking on the role of judge and jury.
Yeah.
Pointing stuff out to people. That'll come to them soon enough.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
like the person who steals something from you, which I've had happen. Karma happens.
Oh yeah.
I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, each religion has this common theme. In Christianity, it's you reap what you sow, and in what is Buddhist is karma. Excuse my ignorance, but isn't that Buddhism, karma?
I believe it. Yeah, that sounds right.
Or Hinduism.
That's
it's one
Hindu.
Of them.
That's Hindu.
Well, karma's used. Yeah, I've heard it used a lot. So it's more now a generic word, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's used a lot. Karma's going to get you. I mean, some of the videos that I watch are instant karma. Those are the most entertaining. It's when someone does something wrong in traffic. There just happens to be a cop there. I don't know what it is. It's so rewarding to see someone get their comeuppance. It just is. I mean, what's wrong with me that I delight in that? Obviously, I'm not the only one. People wouldn't have thousands of views on these dash cam videos of the instant karma. But it's not just in traffic. It's Karens, the term Karen for people that are just out of their mind. And it's an argument I have sometimes with myself. It's like, has it always been like this, or is it getting worse? And I think it's getting worse, but also in the past, like when I was a kid, it wasn't televised. It wasn't something you could go watch and people taking videos. Everybody's got a video camera in their hand. Every phone has as far as I know, well, probably my dad he still has a flip phone, and he's happy about that. And it's not a smartphone. It's an old flip phone. And he's so dramatic when he opens it up. It's like, oh, I've got my flip phone. It's like Star Trek, with the, anyway. Yeah. So I just lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Oh no!
I mentioned my dad, and we're like, oh,
your brain went off on a
thought stopping.
Oh crap!
But one other thing. Sorry, Chris, I was just going to say one other thing. Like, I'll give you an example. Sandra's brother, he hasn't got long to go. He's just on his way out.
Oh no!
Right, but when Sandra got the news, the first thing she said was karma. Well, he drank himself. He smoked himself to death.
Yeah.
I mean, you reap what you sow, don't you?
Sure.
You get a life, and if you want to ruin it, just go do stuff like that. I mean, it's not that you're not sad that you don't like to see anyone in distress, but when people set themselves up, I mean, that 90% of the time, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, look after yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that's like a natural? Do you think it's a natural law, or do you think it's a spiritual law? What's your opinion on that, Glenn? It just is the way that it is.
I just tend to think of it, as you said, that you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I don't really. I think it's a combination, really.
Yeah. I would agree.
There's a spiritual aspect to that.
Yeah.
Because maybe the spiritual aspect is the way that we, as observers, see it. Because I think we can each view what other people do and what we do in a way that's just higher than physically punishing ourselves or emotionally punishing ourselves. I think maybe the question to be asked is, why do people knowingly kill themselves?
Yeah.
And like, not just to go out with pills. I mean, they knowingly subject themselves to terribly painful and long exits. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's such a stigma about suicide, when someone that makes the decision to end their life, everyone, of course they're upset, that this person made that decision. And some people have disdain toward people. I don't think it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, for sure, but I don't know what those people were going through.
How can we know? Right. You think of the courage it takes to kill yourself. How bad must? I think it's just so far out of our frame of reference.
Yeah,
because we're not there. We're not in that place. We don't live in terrible pain. We don't
Right.
live with the emotional trauma of something. We don't live in distress. We got it easy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think we should be criticising people because they take their life. I think we should be privileged for our own lives.
No, absolutely, and that's that gratitude, rearing its beautiful head again, and being grateful for what we do have. That has really been helpful to me, and it's not what irritates me is when other people say to me, well, if I'm sharing or venting about something, they say, "Whoa, people are starving in Africa." Well, yeah, that's true. People have it way worse, but when I'm thinking about it, that's when it's meaningful. When I think to myself, other people have it worse, that's when it's helpful, not when other people point it out. So I don't say that to people. I don't say, well, people have it worse than you. Just let a person share, and you don't have to say anything, but every person's experience is to them just as bad as anybody else. But the reality for me is that I like reminding myself how much I have. I mean, I have a wonderful wife who cares about me and loves me. I have a roof over my head. I have clothes. I have food. It's expensive food now, but I have it, and I have a vehicle that I can get around where I need to go. And there are so many people. There are millions of homeless people in America. I mean, not to mention the world, that every day they are cold in the winter and they are hot in the summer, and they have to figure out ways to feed themselves. And the conservative would say, well, they chose that. Well, maybe there are things that they did choose, but when you have that attitude looking at someone else, oh, they chose that, you don't know their story. And I've really changed in this way, because in the past I had the same attitude. I would see someone that was homeless or panhandling, and I had a disdain toward them, and shame on me for that. I'm glad I have matured and things have changed. I see people like that now, and I can't help all of them. I just can't. But I don't make these snap judgments about them. I don't know their story. Just like with the suicide, you don't know why someone is homeless. If you heard their story, I'm sure you would be appalled. All of them have a story. In the same way, each person has their own struggles. They may not even share it with you. You may go to the convenience store and see someone and looks like they're having a really bad day. To not judge them because you don't know their story, I think is so helpful.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Don't you think, Crips, though, the more you become aware of the world and people around you, the more appalling you see some people's behaviour really is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and America gets a bad rap, and they do, because for the longest time we were braggarts. We were like, "Oh, America's the greatest country on the earth," and back in the day, it was probably true. Back in the 50s, when everybody had two-car garage and a white picket fence and apple pie, and I'm sure that was an illusion even back then. But at least it seemed like the one person could work, and they make enough money to put food on the table, and that's the way it was. It's not like that anymore. At least not for us. Jen and I both have to work. I mean, the reality is, I couldn't live in this place by myself. I couldn't afford the rent. There's just no way. I mean, especially with taxes taken out, it's tough for people. My point is, be empathetic, be understanding, be grateful. Have gratitude every day for the things that you do have, because someone always has it worse. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that have it better than me, but more people have it worse. And I like being grateful. I like having gratitude. I like taking stock in the things that I have and being glad that I have them. Glenn mentioned the health issues of one of his neighbors, all the stuff he was going through. My back hurts a little bit today. It feels like it's about to slip out of joint, and that's not fun, but I know it's going to get better. It's not some chronic issue that I have to get up every day and decide, to get out of bed because I'm in so much pain. I'm grateful. I'm 54 years old, and I'm still able to work, and I have a fairly decent mind, and I have a wonderful wife. I have so many things to be grateful for, and I'm not a huge complainer. I was in the past for sure. Back before my mom died, and I've shared this story before, I was just tired of just working to pay rent and pay bills. I have so much more now than I did before. Things can change. Your attitude can change. Your life can change. Things can change in a heartbeat for the better or for the worse. And having that attitude and taking stock in what you have. I mean, it is a biblical. It's not just the Bible, though. It's out there for everyone to take. Just to be grateful for what you have. I mean, within Christianity, we're taught to be grateful for what God has given us. And I think it's something that over the years has been lost. I remember my grandparents, when they would pray for a meal, they would be grateful for the food, grateful for everything that they have. My grandparents back, I don't know if they still do it, but there was a ministry called Loaves and Fishes, I think was the name of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they had these little plastic bread-shaped banks, and what you would do is you would just put change in there. When you're done, you'd send it out to them, and they would feed starving children with it. And that was something I just loved, getting a quarter and going and putting it in that little plastic loaf. And my grandparents encouraged that. And they didn't have anything. My grandma and my grandpa, World War II veteran, and this gets me riled up, that he fought first country, was wounded first country, that he would ever have to struggle to make ends meet after doing that. And it still happens. It wasn't just him. I learned a lot from my grandpa about that, about the way America treats its soldiers. It hasn't gotten better. In my opinion, he should have never had to worry about money again. He should be able to. But my point is, they didn't have much, but they were thinking about other people. They were thinking about how something Glenn said earlier, thinking about how you can make someone else's life better. I'm putting it in my own words. It's not exactly what Glenn said, but you get the idea. It's thinking, being grateful for what you have and trying to make something better for someone else. And it doesn't have to be these huge gestures. I don't have the money to go help a homeless person, give them a hotel for the night, get them food and clothes. Some people are able to do that, and I think it's great. But I can be nice to people. I can be kind to people. I can help someone jumpstart their car. There are things I can do, and I want to do that. I want to, if I can brighten someone's day. I forget who it was I think it was Bobby that was talking about a job that she had, and just brightening someone's day with humor. Yeah, I remember now. It was she was talking about a guy that brought engine lube in, and she made a joke about, is the party over? And he laughed. And it's stuff like that, just little things that we can do every day to brighten someone's day. Opening the door for someone. I do it all the time, and I'm not thinking, I'm going to make this person's day, but it's little things that you do. Yielding to someone in traffic, letting them ahead of you, letting them out when they're trying to get into the main line of traffic. We can all do more little things, and like I said, it doesn't have to be sweeping gestures. I'm not trying to lecture anyone. I don't know how I got on this, but I remember being grateful, having attitude of gratitude. That's how we got here. John says Cowboys are thrashing the Eagles. Well, I'm sure you don't have any problem. You're not a Cowboys fan, but I don't think you like the Eagles either. If they're playing San Francisco, we all know who you'd be rooting for, and that's a good thing. All right. Marisa ends with, no one is perfect, but I am trying to do a little bit better each day. With God's help, I will make it through this classroom earth. I love that you call it. I know you're not the one that came up with that idea, Marisa, but I agree with you. This earth is a classroom, regardless of whether you believe in God or not. It is a classroom. We're here to learn. And if you look at it like that, you can learn a lot. You can be a student of life, and that's what I consider myself. I put that on my MySpace, If anyone remembers MySpace, before Facebook came out, there was MySpace. It's social media. I had a MySpace page. A couple of years ago, I tried to sign into it, see if it was still there. I didn't remember my password, and I didn't, bother with it. But I put in there, this isn't unique. I'm a student of life. I want to learn from life and be a better person and be a better. And I've always wanted that. I have a desire to wake up tomorrow a little bit better of a person than I was yesterday. My prayer when I was a kid was, help me be a better Christian each day. That was my prayer for the longest time, for decades when I was younger. And then it changed a little bit. I said, my prayer then was, help me be the best person I can be that you want me to be. And I continue to pray that. I do want to be the best person I can be. And not just because I believe that there's a God, but because I feel like it's important for anyone, regardless of our beliefs, to be the best person we can be, to be kind, to be loving, to be gentle, to be empathetic. It changes the landscape. And if everybody would do that, I think it would be a better place. Anyway, Marisa ends with a quote from our friend Paulo. Blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do, something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. That's a good quote to end on. All right.
Beautiful
Anyone
quote.
have anything else they like? We have like 5 minutes. I was thinking we just go ahead and close it off. But if anyone has anything you want to add or any other topic you want to talk about briefly, let's do it. No?
What are you doing for Christmas, Crips?
We're staying home. So that's a great question. So we went to visit her parents for Thanksgiving, and it was a perfect trip. It was a couple days, and we came back and had some time to ourselves. And I was, unfortunately, the way the PTO works here, paid time off, I had it all lined up so I could have several days at Christmas and spend some time with my wife, and I was really looking forward to it. And I got sick, so I had to use 3 PTO days. I mean, when I say sick, it wasn't just a cold. I had both of us got sick, Jennifer and myself, and I had to use the PTO. And so now I don't have enough left to have a lot of time at Christmas. But thankfully, my supervisor knew that I had that time requested and it was already approved, and she helped me figure out. So the week of the 18th, instead of having Sunday and Monday off, I only have Sunday. I go in Monday, but because of that, I'll still have the same hours. And they also, if you work the week of Christmas, you get Christmas. Christmas I'm scheduled off, but it'll be a paid holiday for me because I'm going in that extra day on Monday. And then because I'm doing that, I have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. So I still ended up having, instead of 4 days, which I had originally planned, I still have 3 days, and they're not paid, but I do get that holiday. So Jen and I, we just got a tree last night, and she put the lights on it, and we're going to decorate it soon. And I'm just looking forward to having 3 days off to spend with Jennifer. And I think we're going to go over to my family's here, the remaining family. My dad's still alive, and my sister and her family, and I think we're going to go over there and play games. It's not scheduled yet what day it's going to be, but so we'll spend some time with them. And because we went to visit Jen's parents for Thanksgiving, we're going to stay home. I mean, they expressed that they'd love for us to come, and we're welcome to come, but I feel like switching off. Maybe next year we'll go visit them for Christmas and stay home for Thanksgiving. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're just going to enjoy some time to ourselves for the most part. Glenn, what are your plans for Christmas?
None.
You guys don't. Do y'all celebrate Christmas, Glenn?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, not in the sense that. Oh, actually, I think we do. We go to some other people's down the road that early in the morning, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, just for an hour or so. It's really difficult for Sandra. It's stinking hot, in the summer here. So, we normally do that. Whether we do it this year, I'm not sure. But in general, no, we just chill out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What about you, Marisa? Any big plans for Christmas?
I say no to Saturnalia, Yule, celebrating Christmas and winter solstice. Just
Okay.
Jesus every day.
Just Jesus.
Just Jesus. That's all you need. You don't need a special day to enjoy family and friends and good food or give gifts to somebody, do you? I don't. I just am much happier doing things this way, and
Okay. Yeah.
and for me, those other holidays, other than Thanksgiving, I'm just glad to not have to deal with them anymore. Oh, it was just more bother than what it was worth.
All right.
And I just plan on enjoying my son when he comes to visit, and time with my kids being in the same place at the same time, whenever that happens to be. So
Nice.
All right.
Yep.
Well, one thing I appreciate about you, Marisa, I have no problem, not that it matters, but I have no problem with people that decide for whatever reason not to celebrate, whatever their reasons are, not to celebrate certain holidays or anything like that. I take what Paul said. He said, if you want to celebrate, basically my Jason paraphrase, Cripp's paraphrase is Paul saying, you know, if you want to celebrate Christmas, go ahead and celebrate Christmas. If you don't, but don't judge other people to do it. And what I appreciate about you, there's a lot of things, but in this particular instance, you don't celebrate Christmas, but you don't go on and on in anger and frustration with believers who still enjoy Christmas. And I appreciate that.
Well, it's a personal choice. You know, everybody walks their own path. And this part of my path, those days are not included anymore. So, but, you know, everybody does their own thing, you know.
Sure.
No problem.
Yep. Well, I appreciate that.
Same.
Newark CPS says Nez has been using the not believing in Christmas line to get out of giving her kids gifts for years. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Welcome, Newark CPS. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by.
Wow.
Did you just get it?
I just saw it pop up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hello to one of my trolls. I'm sure I know who it is.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know why.
Would you like to handle them or should I?
You can do it. Yeah.
All right. Yay.
Yeah, I just have the StreamYard and I can't do anything in StreamYard. I don't have the YouTube up. I don't know if works the same or not. I guess I could, but anyway. All right. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about your plans for Christmas? I'm sure they're the same as mine, maybe, but do you want to say anything about that before we close off?
No, I think you covered it.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone, for being part of tonight's broadcast. And, of course, thank you, Marisa, for taking the time to write up some wonderful questions for us to discuss tonight. I don't know exactly yet what we're doing for next week, but we will have something for you guys. I will also discuss whether we're going to do anything. Christmas falls on a Monday, so Christmas Eve will be the 24th, which is next that last Sunday. So we'll talk about what we're going to do, and we'll let you guys know if we plan on doing anything that Sunday. Yeah, thanks for being a part of tonight's broadcast. I hope everyone has a good week, and we'll see you next Sunday. And thanks for being a part of this. Jen, would you like to take a minute to say goodbye to everybody? Bye to the peoples.
Absolutely. Yeah, peoples. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Answering some questions of Nez's beautiful mind. I like what she comes up with question-wise.
Yeah.
And for those that participated and shared y'all's own answers, we really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I hope you guys have a great week. If y'all have any prayer requests, pop them in the chat if you don't mind sharing, and we'll definitely lift you up in prayer. I know this time of year can be very joyful, but also very traumatic for some or difficult.
Sure.
You know, family stuff and just the pressures of buying gifts and people's finances being tight and the crowds of people and the people that get really upset this time of year when they're driving or in stores like,
Yeah.
So just remember to breathe, deep breath.
Yeah.
And just remember that, like Jason said earlier, everybody has their story, the things in their life that they're going through. And I think it's beneficial to remember that before we react.
Yeah.
You guys have a great week. We will see you next Sunday.
Thank you, Jen. Glenn, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples. If you have anything you want to add, please go ahead.
Yeah, same as Jen. Yeah, good to be back. Look forward to next week. Very busy week coming up. We did a lot of travel, but then again, that's how it works.
Yeah.
A lot further than going to Virginia, that's for sure.
Yeah.
About double that distance, so we'll deal with it.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Probably more like 3 times. Anyway, not from Australia's a big country.
Yeah, sure is.
And you reckon what do you got? Gas, fuel, petrol. What's it? $3 or $4 a gallon?
It's down. It's down right now. They usually do that before the holidays to give people a little break. But it was before Thanksgiving. It was over $3, and now it's like $2.72. I think in most places around here, at least. Well, South Carolina doesn't. They charge less tax on their gas, so it's a little cheaper. You can go right across the state line, and it's about 12 cents more expensive in the state of North Carolina. But around where we live, it's about $2.72 for
well, think
petrol.
yourself lucky when I put diesel in my car. That's $9 a gallon. So eat your heart out, honky tonks.
Right. I love it. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks.
All right. Last but certainly not least, Marisa, if you could close us down, greatly appreciate it. And if you have any closing comments, please make them. You've got the floor. I believe you're muted.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Thank you, everybody who came out tonight. Thank you to everyone who participated in the chat. Thank you to those who lurked and may not have participated, and certainly a big thank you to those who catch that replay. And we certainly ask that if you feel led to do so, go ahead and share the stream out on your social media. Thank you so much. And if you have any prayer requests or suggestions for things you'd like to see us talk about here on TSL, feel free to reach out to any of us. I put my email in the chat. I invite my other panelists to do so if they want to. What else was I going to say? Just make sure also if you're feeling stressed out or you know somebody who is, remember that life is worth living and you are allowed to exist and be here. And nobody should be taking that feeling away from you. You know, there may be things in your life you need to change, and we can all work on things on ourselves. Nobody's perfect. But if, especially this time of year, has a way of getting people down, I've been putting an emphasis out there, and so has Johnny Smallpepper, about putting the number for the suicide prevention hotline. So if you know someone who may be in need of a little extra help getting through these holidays, particularly, call or text 988. So that's the number to call for that. An important number to know. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And God willing, we'll see you next Sunday, right here on True Story Live. Have a blessed week, everybody.